Hey, how are you today? Wherever you're seeing this video from, I just thought of coming live right now and talk to you yet again. Last week I released a video and I think I touched on something very important, and I want to do a continuation of what I shared with you last week. I do remember very well that I talked about the fact that when you are serving a leader and then you find that with that leader you are serving, it becomes very difficult for you to trust them and to also to honor them. I suggested that I think it's important that you leave once your relationship comes to that moment. So I want to drag that thought a little further and answer some important questions surrounding this aspect. And as you can see, I have just put like a heading there. Will I be cursed if I leave? Will I be cursed if I leave? I have seen so many people who have stayed in a relationship, especially in a church setup. And that's, I'm talking actually in terms of church, where some people are serving certain men of God and women of God, and they have come to a place where they feel they don't need to continue in that relationship. And some of them went up to their leaders to ask if they can be released. But of course, this we experience on a daily basis. Some people have heard their leaders say to them that I haven't released you, and so if you go, you will be cursed. And so people tend to stay in that relationship where there is no trust, there is no honor, just for the fear of living under a curse, going with a curse. And so the simple question I want us to interrogate today is, will I be cursed if I choose to leave a particular church, to leave a particular ministry because I don't feel like continuing in there? And please remember the background of what we're talking about. Last week, like I said, we touched on the issue of the circumstances that should cause you to move. I repeat, when you cannot trust your leader. And this could be because of moral issues where your leader is constantly engaged in sinful acts and so on. It could be also abuse of funds and so on. It is something that you've talked about. It's something that has been addressed, and there is no cure to that. And again, I want to say that we are living at a time where leaders, pastors, have become so comfortable and very defensive with sin. They would live in a sinful state and they will not even be held accountable. They will not hear anybody because they have become Alpha and Omega. And if you are in that relationship, you are in that setup, my strong advice and appeal to you is simply leave. Because I touched on this last week, that the cover you are under has got a way of influencing your life. Remember, there's what we call the transference of spirits, and those are the people who even lay hands on you. So now you come to a place where you seek to leave, and they tell you, I haven't released you. If you leave without my permission, if you leave without my blessing, you'll be cursed. Is it true? Is it true? When you leave, you'll be cursed. That's what I want to address today. Now, here is my piece. First of all, I want to trust that I'm speaking to mature Christians. I'm speaking to you, my brother, my sister. You have been in the Lord, and God has given you wisdom. And when it comes to leaving, hear this. When it comes to leaving, make sure you leave without raising dust behind you. That is in terms of discrediting where you're coming from, arguing and using words that are disrespectful. You can live in peace just as you came in peace. Make sure you don't destroy the foundation from where you are coming from. So, will I be cursed? I want to tell you, if categorically, that you cannot be cursed just because you have left your man of God or your church. And I'm saying this, I'm a pastor also. I have had many people who have come into my life and have left my life. I have never cursed anybody, and I will never curse anybody. Because the Bible tells me to bless and not to curse. But in principle, will those people be cursed because I did not release them with a blessing? The answer is simply no. And this is what I want to stress. As men of God, we are workers of God. We represent Christ. And we don't have to take things personal. When somebody leaves my church, leaves my life, they have not left Christ. I want to make that very, very strong and very clear. When somebody leaves my church, leaves my ministry, they have not left Christ. I am not Christ. My church is not Christ. I am just a representative. I am just a worker of God. So I don't have to take things personal and intimidate people. Now listen to this. You cannot keep people using threats and fear. You can have a huge assembly, but if the people in that assembly are there because you have intimidated them, you have threatened them, those are not disciples. Those are not your people. You have kept them under fear and threats. And remember, we have not received the spirit of fear. We don't rule by fear. We don't lead by fear. We lead by love. We lead by love. We lead by honor. So you cannot grow your base using fear and intimidation. They are God's people. When they leave, I repeat, they have not left Christ. They have left you. And it is okay. Even Jesus came to the point when he spoke to his disciples. He asked them a question and said, so are you also going to leave me? Because other followers of Christ left. So he turned to his disciples and said, are you also going to leave me? Jesus did not use threatening remarks saying, if you leave me, you'll be cursed. He didn't do that. So we cannot use the word curse just to keep people or to intimidate people to stay with us. Remember, your greatness is not in the crowd. Your greatness is not in numbers. Your greatness is in your obedience to the Lord. It is in the integrity with which you lead. Again, you are not leading people to yourself. You are leading people to Christ. So, will I be cursed? No, you won't be cursed. If you are in that relationship where you have stopped growing, where you are feeling depressed, and of course, this is not because you don't want to be controlled. I need to balance this because there are people who want to leave because they don't want to be controlled, not controlled, to be corrected. That's a correct word. I rescind what I said earlier. The word I was looking for is corrected. You don't want to be corrected and you feel, who are you to speak in my life? I am going. That is a wrong reason for you to leave. And that is a very immature reason for leaving. You want to leave because you cannot fit in that leadership structure. You cannot fit in that leadership trends that are being displayed. So at that point, you cannot be cursed. You are living with a good. In fact, say bye when you are going. So what do you do if your leader says you cannot leave? I cannot release you. Listen to me. Your relationship is between you and Christ. When you have realized that you have come to a place where your leadership or the leadership over you has become a stumbling block, you don't want to stay there because you start whining, you will start destroying, you will start bad-mouthing and so on. So you are no longer needed in that structure. Please leave. Find elsewhere you can be, where you can become more useful. Now, how do you leave? Say bye. When they say no, you cannot go, of course, weigh the situation. But if with deep down your heart, you know it's time to move, just move without raising dust. Just move without destroying. And this is what I want to talk about. There will be consequences that will follow you if you leave destruction behind you. I'll say that again. Consequences will follow you if you leave destruction behind you. Just the fact that you differed with your leader and you are leaving does not mean you have to go all over and tell everybody over how bad that leader is, over how bad that church is, that organization is. Watch this. Jesus said, I will build my church and the gates of hell shall not prevail. That church you are coming from is not, it does not belong to that person you are serving under. it belongs to Jesus Christ. It is the church of Jesus Christ. So you are not destroying that individual. You are destroying the church of Christ. You are destroying the work of God. And that is why I insist that if you live in destruction, if you live or you cause disaster behind you, then you will attract certain consequences, because you have not just touched that person, you have not just touched that church, you have touched the church of Jesus Christ. So in whatever you do, be sure that you are not causing destruction. In as much as you don't have faith in that leader, just know that there are several people who have come to know Christ through that leader. And Paul was very clear about this matter, that through the crookedness and the dishonest of preaching of certain people, and through the abuse of these leaders, others genuinely come to know Christ. So Jesus Christ is still being preached, even through those issues that you cannot stand. So there are other people who genuinely follow Christ through those people. So you don't want to cause distraction, unless where probably those people have become a coward and so on and stuff like that. And then at that moment, you may need to seek the counsel of people who are mature and older than you to see how best you can handle that situation. But remember, the underlying factor here is that you are not the defendant, or not the defendant. You are not the defender of Christ. You are not Christ's attorney. You are not Christ's lawyer. You are just a servant of God. So Jesus will protect his work himself. Jesus will protect his people himself. But it's important that you understand that when your time comes to leave, you can leave. No threats. No one should intimidate you to stay. You come into that body of Christ as a servant, not under compulsion, not under fear, not under threats, because you cannot serve Christ through threats. No one should threaten you to stay. No one should threaten you to leave, because we belong to Jesus Christ. I hope I have answered that question. And I repeat, when you want to move. You are not going to be cursed. And I want to appeal to my friends, my leaders, my pastors, my fellow pastors, and so on. Let's love people unconditionally. Those that want to leave, let's allow them to leave. People haven't started living today. They have been living from way back. Let's allow them. Moses experienced that. David experienced that. Jesus experienced that. Paul experienced that when Mark departed from him. He didn't curse him. He didn't threaten him. He allowed him to go. So allow people to come in and allow people to go. We are Christ's servants. I thank you for listening to me, and I hope this video will be a blessing to you. If you want somebody to see this, please share it. Let somebody be liberated by these simple truths that I've been able to share with you. Thank you so much. I love you. I'll see you again. Bye-bye.